Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. We moved office, so I'm just trying to get my bearings. Yesterday was quite an interesting day getting ourselves organized. Let's move on. Thanks for stopping by. I'm always grateful. I apologize for yesterday. My piece over the weekend was called Currency Puzzles and Negative Interest Rates. And I was talking about the move by the Bank of Japan and really confirming that the really big move is what China will do next. And I think they're going to go through a big devaluation at some point. My little one, Hannah, who's not so little anymore, has taken off to Naivasha and Hell's Gate. She was so excited on Sunday evening, so quiet without her. This morning it was just Layla and I in the car, and she told me she's studying the Congo and the Cold War, and we spoke of Patrice Lumumba, Mobutu Sese Seko. And then I said to Layla that one could argue that we're in the midst of a new iteration of the Cold War today. And I always demand a kiss before she goes, and it's always a kind of wah-wah airbrush kiss that you kind of search the air for. English girls were good at giving you those as well. Let me put up a photograph of Mobutu Sese Seko, Kuku Ungembendu Wazangabanga, which meant, well, you can go and look it up off Rich Ratnobs, it's pretty interesting. We're in the midst of a crazy killing spree, the slaughtering of elephants, rhinos and lions on a scale never before witnessed on Earth. It's truly appalling. Let me put up a photograph I took in September 2013 of the elephants in the Amboseli. Look at the backside of this elephant. That was the last one, must have been the matriarch. And then have a look at this photo of the zebra crossing in the Amboseli. It's a beautiful place to visit. You have Mount Kilimanjaro in the background. It's really elephant country. From there I jumped to Antarctica. I saw an article in the Wall Street Journal saying Antarctica is more like a second Earth. It is the closest any but a handful of us alive today will get to setting foot on another planet. And although it's more accessible than it's ever been, we will never conquer it. Found a beautiful photograph of an Antarctic sunset, a beautiful sunset over the frozen Antarctic peninsula. Ernest Shackleton said, "I had a dream when I was 22 that someday I would go to the region of ice and snow and go on till I came to one of the poles of the earth." I'll leave you with one final thought from George Santayana. The wisest mind has something yet to learn. WHO Director General summarizes the outcome of the Emergency Committee on Zika. "I am now declaring that the recent cluster of microcephaly cases and other neurological disorders reported in Brazil following a similar cluster in French Polynesia in 2014 constitutes a public health emergency of international concern. At present, the most important protective measures are the control of mosquito populations and the prevention of mosquito bites in at-risk individuals, especially pregnant women." Let me put up a photograph of Egyptian mosquitoes in a lab at the Fiocruz Institute in Recife, Brazil. The mosquito transmits the Zika virus, and the key thing is something that I've already touched on before when I was speaking about Ebola, that it is not about the absolute number of cases, it is about its escape velocity. Viruses exhibit non-linear and exponential characteristics. The Russians say, "Let's talk," and then they talk and they talk and they talk. The problem with the Russians is while they are talking, they are bombing and they are supporting Assad. This is Philip Hammond, the Foreign Secretary. My conclusions are the Russians are winning and winning big, and they want an abject surrender. And the longer the patrons dilly-dally, the bigger the rout. Let me put up a photograph of King Salman, the custodian of the two holy mosques, who held talks with the Prime Minister of Turkey, Ahmet Davutoglu. Obviously, they are allies in this movement in this move to overthrow Assad. The Saudi royal family gave $681 million to the Malaysian Prime Minister, and the article that I was reading was saying that was because he banned Shia Islam. And I've been rereading Said Abarish's book, The House of Saud, and what is clear is that the house strategy has not changed since the day of Ibn Saud, except the numbers popped much higher, but now those same numbers are deflating. Aung San Suu Kyi's party takes seats in a historic session of the Myanmar Parliament. She has waited more than 25 years for this moment, having won a parliamentary majority in 1990. That was annulled by the military leadership. In November last year, she led the NLD to another landslide victory that has been accepted by the outgoing army-aligned government. I still think her silence about the Rohingyas is a stain on her impeccable character. Let me put up a photograph of her. And finally, let's go to the situation in the US. The Republican Ted Cruz beat Trump in the Iowa presidential race, and it looks as if Hillary Clinton holds a very slim lead, a statistical, it's like 0.5%. International Markets Wall Street Journal led with an article about how the US hedge funds are mounting new attacks on China's yuan. Some of the biggest names in the hedge fund industry are piling up bets against China's currency, setting up a showdown between Wall Street and the leaders of the world's second largest economy. And I wrote about this over the weekend when I said George Soros Esquire is going to make another killing and is set to skin the Bank of China. This year it has been China which has been ringing alarm bells all over the financial markets. On Tuesday, Wang Baoan, the head of the National Bureau of Statistics, was detained in a graft investigation. On the 24th of August last year, I said the problem is that no one believes the data either. This moment when the market stops suspending its disbelief is seriously a dangerous one for policymakers. I said simply no one outside the Chinese Communist Party's echo chamber believes the official GDP data. Chinese electricity consumption expanded just 0.5% in 2015 versus 2014, and clearly does not confirm a GDP expansion rate of just under 7%. Shipments to the rest of the world, including Europe, the US and Africa, from China is down more than 40% from its peak in mid-2012. George Soros, the man who broke the Bank of England, and I remember that event because I just reached the trading floor at Credit Suisse First Boston and watched this unfold in real time in front of my eyes, has been warned off going to war on the renminbi by Beijing. Soros's war on the renminbi and the Hong Kong dollar cannot possibly succeed. About this, there can be no doubt. Read a front-page opinion piece in the overseas edition of the People's Daily headline declaring war on China's currency. Ha ha. The problem is this, and it's likely that George Soros is going to make another killing, set to skin the Bank of China. The grand macroeconomic elephant in the room is what happens if China is forced into a major one-off devaluation in retaliation. Markets are unlikely to react well to a big one devaluation, and the further the ECB and the Bank of Japan force their currencies down, the more they push China to act. Holger talked about how yen bulls were burned after the Bank of Japan's surprise spurs, the biggest rout in a year, and obviously count me in that group because I was very bullish about the yen and did not expect Kuroda's curveball that we've now had. Alphabet is now the world's most valuable company, having overtaken Apple. Interesting point, it's pretty interesting that 80% of YouTube views come from outside the United States. I didn't think it would be that high, said an analyst. It demonstrates the value of YouTube can continue to be extracted. Operating profit margin for Google was 31.9% in the most recent quarter compared to 25% for Alphabet. So very strong results. Let's move on to the currency markets. Let's have a look at what's going on. Firstly, the euro is at 109.04. Dollar index 98.95, Japanese yen 120.55, Swissy 101.95, the pound, which was above 144 yesterday evening, is now back below it at 143.86. The Aussie is at 0.7070, India rupee 67.805, South Korean won 12.0580, Real 396.20. Got back below 4, and I think a lot of that's to do with the soft commodity price complex, of which Brazil obviously has got a good position, sugar in particular. Egyptian pound 783, South African rand just below 16, but I think it'll go back above 16. Dollar index, let me put up a 1-year chart, reiterate my target is 110 for this year. Dollar Canada, interesting move around yesterday, 140.12 currently, got as low as 139.02 I think in the early hours. I think you buy the dollar with a stop at 138.50. Commodity markets, gold, that's been on a good run of late, 1125.55 trading right now, and obviously that's been on, it's had a strong January because of global weakness in equity markets and so forth. Crude oil, I'll put up a 1 month chart. The rally has now faded and reversed, a big reversal yesterday. Bloomberg has an interesting collection of photographs. Take a look at the last day of trading at the London Metal Exchange. Moving on to sub-Saharan Africa. Last year, construction began on a 540-meter high skyscraper in Casablanca, Morocco. This month, the Commercial Bank of Ethiopia launched the construction of its new headquarters, poised to become the tallest building in East Africa, talking about how people are now competing with the tallest building. Angola's finance ministry is negotiating a new deal with the World Bank. This is the state news agency, Angola. They're struggling with obviously low crude prices, a weakening currency, rising debt. World Bank representatives in Angola declined to comment on any potential financial assistance. Angola's central bank devalued the Kwanza by 15% in January to 155 against the dollar, but the currency was trading at more than 400 on the secondary market, and there are lots of informed rumors that they've blocked all exports. I spoke about this in August when I said the end is nigh for crude oil. Oil producers from Caracas to Luanda, from Riyadh to Abuja. Oil-based economies, I said, are going to contract. Currencies which have already collapsed are going to be routed, and Greek-style austerity will be the order of the day. The meltdown is coming. South African Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan met with business leaders on January the 29th to discuss steps to avoid a credit rating downgrade to junk. I think that's predictable, inevitable, and inevitable. South African oil share is down 3.23% this year. Dollar rand just below 16. I think that's a great place to sell it. An attempt at Tableview Beach to break the Guinness World Record for the largest parade of kite surfers. It's a lovely photograph from Eyewitness in The Guardian. Egypt suffers from shortage of dollars. The Wall Street Journal is reporting ability to import essential goods from drugs to wheat is now threatened. Egyptian pound, that's another Naira situation, is at 783. Egyptian EGX 30 is down 15.69% this year. The Nigerian all shares down 16.81% this year and headed lower. The Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index, which was positive all the way through January, is minus 0.14% now. Coming to Kenya, while Nigeria has amongst the lowest non-oil revenue mobilization ratios in Africa, Kenya has traditionally always been higher than the sub-Saharan African average, which is a good point to note. Due to numerous infrastructure projects, construction has grown by 14%, and this has generally driven growth upwards. This was Henry Road Titch at Mindspeak on Saturday. We're currently editing the footage and we'll be publishing it soon. Rotich explained Kenya has displayed more resilience than other countries in sub-Saharan Africa because of its reliance on several sectors. We have a diverse economy where if one sector falls, say agriculture, others like manufacturing rise to support general growth. That is unlike our peers in sub-Saharan Africa like Angola or Nigeria, who depend on oil and minerals, so if oil prices fall, their economies come tumbling down. The Treasury is now asking banks to recall county loans. Official data indicates that 4 counties procured commercial loans totaling 1.9 billion shillings in the fiscal year to June 2014, majority of it accruing to Nairobi County. This raises several concerns, most critically that the debt is not guaranteed by the national government as required by the Constitution and the Public Finance Management Act. Neither has the debt been approved by Parliament. Secondly, the purposes for the borrowing are unclear. Legally, counties may only borrow for capital projects with high economic growth potential. The Kenya Revenue Authority has missed its half-year tax collection targets by a massive 47.6 billion shillings. There will, however, be a massive skew in the government of Kenya's favour in the second half because of various taxes that are now, which were introduced but not operationalised. KenGen said it will receive a $387.2 million loan from the Japan International Cooperation Agency to fund the construction of a geothermal power plant. Have a look at the share price. It trades on a price-earnings ratio of 1.135. Just at a price-earnings ratio of 4 puts the share price above 20. Have a look at Albert Mugo's presentation at Mindspeak. That was our first Mindspeak of the year. Very clear, very compelling. Kenya shilling 102.395. We've been there since October. Nairobi all share bounced 0.89% higher. It's only down 5.26% this year. Safaricom, big mover yesterday, up 2.64%. NSE 20 couldn't snap higher. It's still down 6.77% year to date. The National Oil Board has sent its CEO on forced leave. If you haven't had a chance to watch Sumaya Hassan Athmani's Mindspeak, then take a look because it was compelling as well. Once again, thank you for stopping by. I'm grateful for all the support.